my wife's grandma was like a doll collector.
My God.
And I remember one of the times first times I went to go like visit her family, she put us up in one of these rooms where she had all these dolls. Sleeping in that room with all those little ceramic faces staring at you, not the vibe. I'm not into it. It wasn't good for me.
That. It's the life-size version of Jesus sitting in the corner staring at you.
I don't remember that.
Joe, just looking at it is
He's as tall
big. It's big, bro. It's there. It's looming too. It's watching you. All right, and it's judging. So, talking about demons and like mythical legends, I want to also combine two other topics. We got one, which is Halloween myths, like the myths of going out on Halloween and maybe the dangers that people would tell you before you went out. Like, and I have a lot because I was Jehovah's Witness. So, and then the other one is maybe creepy myths or stories from your childhood. Maybe you had an experience where something happened and it was very creepy and maybe you want to share it. So,
I mean, the number one Halloween myth right now, and it has been as long as I've been around, is that people put razor blades and shit into people's candy. I don't think anyone's putting razor blades into candy. I don't think people are putting drugs into your kids' candy.
Do you think there's a single case of anyone finding like a razor blade in a way that I would say is malicious, like in a candy? So like a kid goes to eat a candy and there's a razor blade in it. You think something like that has ever happened?
There might be like one or like a handful ever, right? Because people are fucked up, right? Like if you can think of doing something fucked up, someone's probably done that fucked up thing already, right?
You'd have to cook it into the fucking shit. It'd have to be done at the factory. Think about how a razor blade would sit in a candy. You'd obviously be like, there's a razor blade in that candy.
It's like, what the fuck is Nestle trying to do to me? Okay. Yeah, so then it's like the equivalent of voter fraud in the U.S. So conservatives are going to talk about it, but there's no real impact on life.
These memes that came out this past week, some of these ones on Twitter about like shit and candy, pretty good. This one says, parents, please make sure your kids don't delve too greedily or too deep this Halloween. I just found a Balrog, servant of Morgoth, in my son's candy bar. And that might be my favorite tweet of the week. And Pooch muted himself accidentally again.
Fuck. I was gonna say the Balrog. That's the guy in the Fellowship of the Ring. Remember that the wizard. What the fuck's
Gandalf.
The wizard's name? Gandalf fights the Balrog when they're going through the tombs of Scoria or the mines of Moria.
The mines of Moria.
They go through this place. Remember, you shall not pass. That's against the Balrog pulls them down. You don't want a Balrog in your candy.
You do not.
Gandalf fought that guy for like the equivalent of like 1,000 years, and they were just falling down into hell for like 1,000 years.
Really?
Some weird. That's what he came back. He's not even the same guy. He's Gandalf the White now. He's had so much experience in.
He leveled up.
Imagine just fighting for 1,000 years and then you come back. You're not the same guy no more. You know, he came back. He's the Doomslayer now. He doesn't know how to talk to Frodo no more. Like he's like, I'll help you out, but I ain't the same guy you once knew. Hanging out in the Shire. It's different from me. Mm-hmm. You don't want this to happen to your children. Is my point. Your child is young and innocent. Don't look out for them Balrogs in your candy. Right?
Imagine people taking expensive drugs. I'm just gonna slip him in this candy. They're gonna take off when he takes this shit.
Like what? All right, let's take this in the best faith possible. What is the strategy here? It's like, I'm gonna put some drugs in this candy. These kids are then going to eat my drugs, and I'm gonna turn them out. I'm gonna hook them, and then they're gonna come and buy drugs from me. Like, is that the strategy? Is that what people think is gonna happen?
How much money do people think kids have? Kids don't have drug money.
Yo, these kids are gonna be listening to Yeet booted off that ecstasy. Dude, nobody's taking drugs, which are expensive. Like, drugs cost money. Just put in it. Every cokehead, every pothead, they're not giving their shit out. They want as much as they can get, bro.
Could you picture the production of spending like $45,000 on like a brick of coke or some shit, and then they're just like opening up all these candies and sprinkling them, repackaging them, and then throwing it in the bucket? They could take one, please. They put in the take one, please bucket. Like
they're making $20 pixie sticks that are just filled with coke.
That sounds fire.
Yo.
That's an idea, Mateo. Like we could do this. Actually, I don't condone the selling of drugs, okay? But it would be interesting in a movie to see like everybody going to like some nightclub or something, and they're just selling pixie sticks worth of, I don't know, what the drug of your choice.
Something in powdered form.
Something in powdered form. Maybe imagine a pixie stick of just acid. Just like,
oh man,
do that. It'd be nuts.
Cocaine, cotton candy. That's a lot of C's.
I don't like cotton candy, dude.
Cocaine, cotton candy.
I can do some cotton candy, but it's sticky, and that's
so
not
sticky.
my favorite thing. It's like Cheetos. I eat my Cheetos with chopsticks now because I don't want to get that shit all over my fingers. It's the way.
Chopsticks. Oh my God. What?
It's a trick, dude. She-Hulk even did it in the She-Hulk TV show, and I was like,
that's ridiculous.
Damn. I was like, I'm glad someone else is doing this crazy shit that I picked up from some internet video years ago.
That's got to be like a way to practice chopsticks, because I don't see why anybody would waste their time doing that.
Like
when I
eat Cheetos, though, I don't go as far as Mateo with chopsticks, but I don't use my fingers. I just sort of eat them out the bag. I go like, because I don't want to have the Cheeto fingers. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody offered me Cheetos tonight, and I fucking declined, and now I regret it.
Oh, why? Damn.
Because I would have pulled those out, and I would have been right now the Cheetos.
You would have got chopsticks? Do you know how to use chopsticks?
No, I can't use chopsticks. Anytime I'm at an Asian restaurant, I'm like, forks, please.
I love the all the people go to the Asian restaurant. They whip out the chopsticks. They give it a college try, and then they put the chopstick down and eat with a fork. It's like a funny ritual that Americans do with Asian food. Everybody's like, they struggle with the chopsticks. And they're like, all right, fuck this part of Asian culture. And they just start stabbing everything with a fork. This is funny as hell to me. I remember I went to Japan for 2 weeks on vacation. Mm-hmm. And prior to going to Japan, I remember me and my wife were like, all right, cool. We need to start hitting up the Asian restaurants, and we're only going to eat with a chopstick. Like, we need to learn. Because you go to some of these rural places, I mean, pretty much everywhere has a fork and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to be the Americans in Japan eating with a fork. It feels weird. So we made an effort. I'm a proficient chopstick eater now.
I will show them niggas the tricks they need to know. I'll be like, look at all the meat I have on here.
Yeah, no, I'm not Japanese though. Those guys are impressive. Like they're grabbing wads of rice, chunks of meat in one like scoop of their stick, and I'm like, it's just too. I don't know how you're doing that, but it's a more efficient form of eating than a fork for sure.
I'm pretty sure that my chopstick method is not like the actual way you should do chopsticks, but it's what I have learned, so it works for me. But I bet there's more efficient ways.
I'm sure if you gave me 2 sticks, I'd learn how to fucking eat with them too. You know what I mean?
You would just end up using your hands,
scraping it.
So what other myths do we got? The razor blades and candy, the drugs and candy one is like the one that I hear like recycled all the damn time.
I mean, so for me, from like the religious aspect, bro, there was so much. You're worshiping the devil. You're putting on the clothes of the demons and you're acting out on their wishes. That's what people told me. You are a servant of the devil. Like when you go out, I'm like, damn, them niggas is getting candy. It's the sweet taste of the demon's blood.
Damn.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
That's how they lure you in. They lure you in with the candy,
the nectar.
And then they hold you with the Satan. That's what they're doing.
So for me, it was just like super religious, super biblical, and I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, these two things are not coinciding. I'm like, I don't see these people. These are my friends. I didn't see them as like demon worshippers.
He's like, it's hard to picture my best friend Greg in 5th grade is some demon worshiper after Halloween. Like, he dressed up as these people trying to sell me.
He dressed up as a Ghostbuster. I don't think he's worshiping the devil.
Yeah, my best friend Roger used to celebrate Halloween, and through him, I used to get the candies.
Was he not a Jehovah's Witness?
Not at all.
Oh, I thought so. I don't know why.
No, it was through him how I got all my.
That's
his house. Yeah.
That's a holy. Did he give you good picks of candy, or did you get leftover candy?
I will stand to this day. That dude is like my brother, bro. I met him in 3rd grade. We were in the bathroom, and he was selling 50-cent Mortal Kombat pictures.
Nice.
Really cool. Like, to get over here.
Was he making sales?
He made a sale for me. I was like, that's fire. I said, I need that. And ever since then, that was my boy.
Damn, what?
In the bathroom. Why he chose that area to sell?
It's private, bro. There's no soliciting in schools. Everybody knows this.
So ever since that day, yeah, he was my friend. So through
speaking
him,
of Ghostbusters, did you guys see that new Ghostbusters game?
No, isn't it like a 5 versus 1? Like a kind of like these games that
cool.
you don't like?
Yeah. It's one of the games I don't like.
I'm pretty sure that James and Elise Willems from Funhouse are involved in that game in some way. I think they're doing some of the voice writing and the voice acting or something like that.
Yeah, I could believe that. I think Greg Miller's in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it looks good, honestly.
I don't know. It looked cool. Like I don't like these like asymmetrical like multiplayer games where you have like that's symmetrical though, where they have where you have like 4 players against like a monster or something like that. I'm not a big fan of them, but this seemed cool. It seemed like there's stuff for the monster to do beyond try to kill people. Like the people are trying to kill you, and you're trying to do like missions, like you gotta accomplish. It kind of gave me like Among Us vibes, where this monster is like trying to do all this shit in order to win, and these guys are trying to chase down and find the monster. It's kind of flipping the instead of the monsters chasing the characters. I mean, like there might be some aspect of that. Right. I don't know. It looked cool.
There's something about those asymmetrical games that kind of grabs me sometimes. Like Prey seemed really cool, but it wasn't that fun. I like the concept of it. I just haven't found a lot that actually have entertained me as much as I wanted. I think the best one I've ever played was this shark one, where it was like 4 people are divers and 2 people play as sharks that are like attacking the divers while they're looking for treasure. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember Left 4 Dead 2 was the first game that I remember introducing this like asymmetrical kind of multiplayer or whatever. And then I started seeing them crop up. But yeah, there was like I think there was an Aliens game that's like this where you play with Marines.
There was
that Evolve game that kind of tanked.
The Bigfoot game that I want to play with you.
Not Prey, it was Evolve.
Evolve, yeah. The Bigfoot game is one of those games, but you could play 2-player co-op, but like the computer is really good at being the Bigfoot.
So Halloween myths.
Yeah, sorry. You just mentioned Ghostbusters, and I was seeing that game.
But we
had some very individual ones. Like there was a house that my older siblings, my older cousins, that house was haunted. It only ever came up on Halloween that house is haunted. There was a crazy lady that lived there. She abducted kids, and we would go there for candy every year. And it was a crazy old woman that lived in that house alone. But they would it was like a fear thing. They would build up that anxiety in you as we were walking to this house. And of course, this house was like the furthest house away, all by itself in this neighborhood we would go to. So, you're walking for 5 minutes and they're like, oh man, I don't know if we want to go to this house. oh man, it's so far away. You know why she lives so far away? So you can't hear the screams, and just gassing us up.
You know, I got one worse than a Halloween myth. All right. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid growing up, my closet was haunted. All right.
Whoa.
I had a closet in my house that I was horrified of. I could not go to this closet. I was horrified of this closet. It was in my room, and I would fall asleep staring at that door, just scared like shit. Like it was horrifying. So the story goes, my brother and one of my cousins, they go into this closet and they start saying Bloody Mary in the closet. Mm-hmm. And then they saw blood start dripping from the walls. And then, meanwhile, my other brother and another cousin start holding the door, allegedly, like locking these poor kids in the closet with Bloody Mary, and they're banging the door to get out because they're horrified of the blood coming out of the walls, and yeah, they were just like holding them in there for a while. Then they escaped. They escaped the clutches of Bloody Mary. But I'll say this: there was some red shit streaked on that wall, and that scared me to death. I remember occasionally my mom would go in there to like, cause that was like it was like a weird closet. We didn't really have a lot of clothes in there. It'd be like a bunch of coats and shit like that. But it was in the bedroom. My mom would go in there occasionally and clean things out, and I was scared for her. I was like, "You're gonna get murdered in there." I had an irrational fear of Bloody Mary as a kid because of this story. Like, I would go into the bathrooms and take showers. I'd look at mirrors and be horrified that I'm gonna see some crazy motherfucker trying to kill me. And yeah. So that was, I guess, worse than a Halloween myth, but I thought about that shit all year. It sucked.
I've got a similar experience, actually. There was this, so my grandma collected dolls, right? And she had all these dolls in this room. So this room was already creepy because it was just a bunch of like ceramic dolls and shit like that in display cases just staring at you. But she also had this like big, it's like a wardrobe, an armoire, something like that, right? One of those big like it opened up, and that's where like she had a bunch of like dresses and things hung, but there was also like enough room in there for like kids to go and fuck around in there. So
it's like we played Indian in the cupboard. It's like a thing that
kind of like that. And we played a lot of like hide and seek and, you know, kids games like that. And I remember that every single one of us at some point tried hiding in there. That was one of the spots we tried hiding in, and weird shit happened. Like, you'd get locked in there, and there wasn't a lock like that we had access to. That you had to like use a key to lock that thing, but people would get locked in there. Some of my cousins claimed that they heard like banging sounds outside, which could have been someone else just fucking with them. But everyone swore up and down that they had not gone in there and banged on it or anything. There were weird experiences that I can explain away, but I don't have any proof of either way. You know, it's just
that. Kids are fucking weird with like, I need to talk to my brother, because I remember for years after that he would say, yeah, absolutely, that's what happened. I saw the blood coming off the walls. My brother is 36 years old now. 38. I think he'll still say that he saw the blood, and I don't know if he's lying or not. You know what I'm saying? No, my brother's not a liar. My brother's not a liar. He don't make shit up. Obviously, I don't believe any of this. There's no way blood came out of the wall. But I could believe he thought he saw blood coming out of the wall.
See, you know I never heard any of the knocking in this particular wardrobe, but I did get locked in there once. And we don't have a good explanation for how I got locked in there because, like I said, there was a key. Like, that's how you locked and unlocked that thing. It was old school. Weird shit, man. Weird experiences as kids. But it could have just been a lock failure, right? Like, it could have been like it was pre-locked and I just didn't realize it. But like my cousins also swore that like sometimes they'd walk by that room and that door would just be like in the process of like sliding open on its own and shit like that. It was a creepy room. The dolls definitely did not help the vibe in that room.
Yeah. My wife's grandma was like a doll collector.
My God.
And I remember one of the times first times I went to go like visit her family, she put us up in one of these rooms where she had all these dolls. Sleeping in that room with all those little ceramic faces staring at you, Not the vibe. I'm not into it. It wasn't good for me.
That. It's the life-size version of Jesus sitting in the corner staring at you.
I don't remember that.
Joe, just looking at it is.
He's as tall
big.
as.
It's big, bro. It's there. It's looming too. It's watching you, right? And it's judging.
Joey, would you rather have sex in front of that thing or with a cat watching you disinterested from a chair or something?
I want to have sex in front of that thing, and I want to look at it, and I'm like, yeah, Jesus.
Oh wow, I would prefer a cat personally. I would look at that statue multiple times. It'd make me uncomfortable. I had another story. There was, it's kind of sad. There was these kids that I don't know what they're doing. In our neighborhood. There were so many stories about what happened. But long story short, there were these two young kids. They were jumping from building to building. One of them fell off and died in my neighborhood when I was growing up. The stories that came out of this was like they were doing drugs, they were running from the cops, they were doing this, they were doing that. Like, you know, I don't know what happened. There were kids in the neighborhood we knew, but it wasn't like I was like personal friends with them or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there was one particular story about how allegedly he made the jump. He's hanging on the edge of the building, and this old lady that nobody ever knew or anything threw him off the building. She came to pull him up, but she Mufasa'd him.
Damn.
She grabbed his hand and threw him off. And then I was creeped out that I'd run into this lady as I was, walking through the neighborhood. And she was like, she's gonna kill me somehow. It might have been Bloody Mary that did it to him as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Believe it or not, that's not uncommon in New York. It still happens to this day.
Old ladies throwing kids off buildings?
No,
Horrifying.
kids hopping buildings and dying. Young teenagers, 16 years old, girls, boys. It still happens. Just recently in New York, a kid's from the elbow down, bro, got maimed subway surfing a train.
Subway surfing seems so insane to me. I don't understand the appeal of that at the least. But I will say, I have been on top of a very tall building before, and I've seen another building was a little bit lower, and I've had that thought in my head, like, I bet I could jump that. I bet I could make that jump. Never acted on it though. Don't think I would.
Never.
I might be afraid of heights. I've never gone up high and been afraid of heights, but whenever I'm up high and I look over edges, I get uncomfortable.
Same.
I remember one time we did this guy's trip to Tampa, me and my friends, and we were just drunk and fucking around, and we went to the roof of this hotel. I don't know. I think the maintenance door was open. It wasn't supposed to be open. We're on the roof now. And it's a pretty fucking tall building. And we're on the roof. There's it's not like New York. Those New York buildings, they're designed so that people could be on the roof. It's at least chest high. So to jump this thing, you have to have the intent of there's some older buildings that those walls are lower, but for the most part they're tall. This thing was as high as your ankle. In fact, it's like a tripping hazard because you hit that thing, you could fall off. And I remember looking over the edge and getting so the heebie-jeebies. I was like, all right, I gotta get the fuck off this roof. Somebody's gonna do something stupid, and I'm gonna regret being up here.
That would make me uncomfortable too, honestly. Just having no barrier, no even tiny barrier.
So there's my brother, and he does that shit all the time. I'm just gonna sit on the edge of this, and then there's death in front of me. Yo, I fucking hated when he did that, bro. It would give me goosebumps for hours. I was like, I can't just get off. Just sit on the bench. Why do you have to sit on a cliff's edge?
I was afraid of the elevator shaft as a kid too. I think there were demons or something down there. I don't know. There was some weird story. The kids used to ride the elevator, pull the emergency stop button in between floors, so that if you were outside of the elevator, which I used to be, I've never done this because I was like, I'm not stupid. I'm gonna die if I do this. So standing outside the elevator, what it looked like was the elevator was, you could see people's feet at your eye level, and then a hole of death under the elevator, right? And so they would pull the emergency stop, open the door from the inside, and then they would jump out from under that like gap. They would like jump out of the gap. This is just like kids doing stupid shit for fun kind of thing. Because we're growing up, we're poor and bored, and we don't got a lot of shit to do.
God damn, that's dangerous.
And I'm like, seeing that was horrifying. And I remember they had stories of like, they were saying, oh, kids have fallen down there and died. The old lady yanked somebody that tried to jump out, and she yanked them.
Is this the same old lady that threw that kid off the building?
It has to be. It has to be.
It has to be.
There's a creepypasta story with elevators that I came across one time where they were the claim in this story is that you can open a portal to another, like almost like an upside down version of the world, like the Stranger Things upside down world, by going to, there's a certain order you go to in the elevator. You go to like the 4th floor, then the 8th floor, then the 2nd floor, and some shit like that. And at some point you turn around, and then you're not supposed to, like, you'll hear the elevator doors open and someone get in, and you're not supposed to look at them, and there's all kinds of crazy shit like that. I always like those little like creepy pasta things like that.
Yeah, the fact that there's no 13th floor on any building in America says a lot more to superstitions, though. Like, that's a building superstition. You build a building, you never have a 13th floor. Why? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I've never looked into why we think 13 is unlucky, honestly. Like, that does have me curious.
Yeah, the 13th floor. Every New York building you go into, there's no 13th floor.
So other cultures have their own unlucky numbers. I wonder if there's similar things in other countries. Like the number 4 is bad, right? Like I think my boss is
Chinese.
He's a Chinese American. He's told me that like the number 4 skews him out when we're buying things for like the team or the company or something. He'd refuse to buy them in increments of 4. We buy in increments of 5. We buy 3. Like he doesn't let us buy 4. I wonder if that's a similar thing though. Like, do they have like no 4th floors? Is that the way that those things work?
Yeah, no, that's I'm curious as well. But how one superstition could stay that prevalent, and you're talking about engineers. These people are educated and they believe in the superstition. It's weird.
So it's not that they believe in the superstition, is that they know the people that are going to use this stuff believes in the superstition.
Really?
So it's that, because it's like, imagine you're building a hotel and you have a 13th floor with a bunch of rooms that nobody wants to stay in because it's the 13th floor. It's like, you'll be losing out on a whole floor worth of money. Just call it the 14th floor and you got no problems anymore.
I see.
Which is kind of stupid of people. The fact that it's labeled 13 is how it gains its power, not by the fact that it's actually the 13th floor. Like, you know what I'm saying? It is the 13th floor no matter what number you put on the fucking plaque.
Exactly.
Even though it says 14, that's number 13.
But people are like, perfect. Like, it makes no sense. Apparently it has something to do with the fact that Judas, one of Jesus' disciples, is the 13th disciple, and he's the one that actually betrays Jesus.
Interesting.
I see.
I think for silver. Some 20 pieces of silver, 4 pieces of silver, something like that. I'm not.
Kind of like the Judas in this podcast who's not here.
Some would say. Some would say he would say someone.
He's our number 4.
Lucky. Some would say we benefit the three men podcast.
I don't like being up top. Can we rearrange it so we have one up top and 2 on bottom?
Apparently I'm the bottom. Junior will be proud of me.
Yeah, no, facts. Big facts.